preparation is the greatest defense against uncertainty. That's why, according to LegalZoom, 56% of Americans believe that estate planning is important. However, only a third, 33%, have documented wills, and 18.78% were trusts, and 6.1% were people nominated to be guardians for their younger children. Furthermore, according to USA Today, fewer older adults in America are writing wills, which could spell trouble for the remaining survivors. The share of 70-year-old adults or older who have wills and trusts to distribute their assets are steadily declining since the 2000s. According to the Center of Retirement Research at Boston College, for instance, between the 10-year span of 2008 to 2018, the share dropped from 70 to 63%. The downward trend can be greatly attributed to the growing diversity of America, particularly of our senior population. Seniors today are most likely going to be of Black and Hispanic descent, who are less likely than non-Hispanic or whites to leave inheritances or wills to their surviving relatives. This is all good data and precisely why my friend Oscar Vasquez founded EstateDocPrep.com. Oscar is an expert in estate planning who helps families and homeowners protect their assets from the high cost of probate, from creating living trust to avoiding costly estate planning mistakes. Oscar's insights could save your family thousands of dollars and provide them with a much-needed sense of a peace of mind. If you're a homeowner, older American, or simply want to plan for the future, my conversation with Vasquez is something you can't afford to miss. So, without further delay, I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Oscar, if you're ready, my friend, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to dive into your experience when it comes to estate planning, my friend. Great to see you, and happy Friday to you, my friend.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, my friend. And I know, my friend, that you're the founder of Estate Doc Prep, where you help, or you're on a mission to help people simplify their estate planning so that their families can protect both their assets and their legacies, my friend. So I wonder if we can start our conversation by you telling me about your work and what makes you so fabulous, my friend.
Okay, so let me tell you, I'll give you a little bit of background. I've been in the real estate business for 28 years. I started helping families protect their homes about 15 years ago when I used to refer them out to real estate attorney or estate planning attorneys until the cost became excessive on on estate planning. And so what I found out is that a living trust is a document that every family needs to be able to avoid probate, which probate is something that's terrible and nobody should have to go through.
Absolutely, my friend. And tell me, when we put together wills and trusts, what sort of items or details do you think the average person needs to know about what they need to put in a will and trust, my friend?
Okay, so here's the thing. The first thing is I want to explain what a living trust is. A living trust is a contract or an agreement between the parents and the children that the courts enforce. So that way you know that an attorney does not have to create a living trust. What a living trust has to have is the legal provisions in order for it to be able to have a recognizable agreement by the court. So that's the first thing. The second thing that you have to understand is that an attorney does not have to have it. So we can do it at a very high level and be able to prevent you from going to court. So before we go into what you need to have in order, what I like to tell you a little bit about is exactly what a living trust does for you. And the first thing that it can do up to about 100 different things, but I'm only going to cover two or three because I know we don't have 19 hours to be on this podcast. However, what I do want to tell you is that probate is something that happens to you. Now, I always say this because we're starting to help customers from all across the country. And what I mean by that is that every state has a threshold. So I always tell people, you want to know if you have an asset that exceeds the threshold and if you're going to go to probate, Google it. Google what's the threshold in my state. Don't put in my state, put in California, Colorado, put in whatever state you're listening in, put that in. And once you hit that, if your excess, if your threshold, if you meet the threshold or you exceed it, then you're going to go to probate and the following things will happen. Okay? And the following things will happen. For example, the first thing that's going to happen is an attorney is going to talk to your kids and ask them to pay. For example, in California, it's about $26,000 minimum, and it goes all the way up to about 80 to 120, depending on the size of the estate. The first thing. So if your kids don't have it, they might be forced to sell the house if their kids do not have that program. The next thing that happens, if the courts publicize your estate to the public, it becomes public. That means everybody is going to know what you have, and then the courts are going to say, if you have a claim, come forward. If you think you're a beneficiary, come forward. Then, after that, the court is going to make the decision for you on what happens to your things. That means that what happens to the courts make the final decisions on what happens to your items. And then, after all that's said and done, then the court's going to wait for 12 to 18 months to be able to settle the estate. That means it waits for 12 to 18 months before you get the money. And that is something that is really, really terrible for many people that don't realize that estate planning is something that they have that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Oscar, you said that 68% of American homeowners lack a real estate plan, my friend, and as you just detailed, buddy, more than it can cost families up to 8% of their home's value, my friend. So what do you think is the key to ensuring that more people are educated on how important this issue truly is? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, here's the thing, Kevin. And this is why I'm on a crusade. I'm on a crusade to bring awareness to America, and what I mean by bringing awareness to America is that that's why I'm on podcasts. I've been doing a lot of I've been doing public speaking. I'm doing workshops. I'm bringing this out because I can't believe if you're a homeowner, if you don't have a live, if you're a homeowner, you're going to probate. Period. It doesn't matter. If you pass, you're going to probate. In order to avoid probate, there's only one document, and that is the living trust that prevents you from going to probate. That's the fact. 68% of Americans that own a home don't have a living trust. It's not because they don't care about their kids. It's not that they want their kids to go through probate. It's not it's because they don't know it exists. And if an estate plan, if you don't know that it exists, if you don't know, you don't know. But now, if you're listening to this podcast, now you know. Now you've seen it. Now you can't unsee it. And now it's time to be able to get into and do something about it to be able to protect your kids and your assets. So, yeah, Kevin, 68% people don't do that. My thought is it's not that they don't care. I don't think that we don't care. Because I always say this, look, a living trust protects two things that are near and dear to your heart. And that is your money and your kids and your loved ones, right? So with that said, that's what I think about 68% of Americans, what they do with that. And that's
Yeah,
why they don't have it.
absolutely. And, Oscar, I'm also curious to ask you about, the emotional and social impact of estate planning. A lot of people don't like to talk about the end of life, but it's inevitable for all of us. So, talk to me about getting over the emotional and the mental hurdle of estate planning and what people should really start thinking about this process. My friend, what are your thoughts there?
Well, here's the thought process is that getting over the emotion, there is a human element to creating a living trust. And that's why working with us is so important because we take away a lot of the human delay of that. We take that delay away from the emotional delay because there's questions that are asked that we never thought about in a living trust ever. And those are the human delays. Those are the things that take time because you have to really think about what you want to have happen if this happens to you or what you want to have happen with your stuff because remember when you have a living trust you're taking on all the decisions that you decide on what happens to your things. The courts no longer decide because if you decide not, there's two plans. One is the government plan, and the other is your plan. And the government plan, the government decides. On your plan, you decide on what happens to your things. And that is probably the biggest burden of being able to decide and the emotional distress about it because there's a lot of questions. However, not when you work with the state doc prep and not with the state doc prep because a state doc prep is a software company that makes estate planning affordable for everybody, and is that is a game changer. I think for the whole industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Oscar, I wanted to also ask you about, the important things that people need to know in terms of what assets to protect, uh, how to determine who they're going to leave assets to. I'm wondering if you can give me sort of a strategic plan that people can think about when they're looking to dispense their assets. What do you think people need to know?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the biggest thing that people need to know. Um, that what you and it's and I like to break it down. That's a great question, Kevin, because that's a loaded question. That's like it has a long answer, but I'm gonna make it simple. what you put into the living trust and what you protect is everything you can't take with you when you pass. So that's about as simple as that. So if you can't take it with you, I recommend that you put it in. You put it into your estate plan. But anything of value, mostly anything of value to you emotionally or economically, like retirement accounts is definitely a must. A home is a must. Real estate investments is a must. Anything of large asset or of large value is definitely something that needs to be put into play and put into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Oscar, you also say that estate planning is important for the average person and not those just with money, my friend. So why do you think the average person should make estate planning a priority? Because I know it's a myth that you want to talk to me about this morning. So tell me all about it, my friend.
Yeah, so here's the thing. One of the biggest myths, you are right, Kevin, that is a big myth that most people think that estate planning or a living trust is for the wealthy. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you are a homeowner, there's two reasons why you should have a living trust. Two main reasons. One, if you have a special needs child or adult that is going to inherit, that has supplemental income from Social Security because it protects it. That's the first thing. The second thing that the second reason is if you have a net worth that surpasses the threshold of your estate, because then you're going to go to probate. And going to probate is something that nobody wants to go through. When I have people talk about why is that, and that's the biggest misconception, that people think you are wealthy. Now I'm here to tell you, if you are a homeowner and you own a home, you are wealthy. You need a living trust. There is no exception to the rule, statewide or worldwide. The estate planning is a worldwide problem that is not coming to fruition because of it, and that is because people don't know. So it's not, that is the biggest misconception, Kevin, and thank you for bringing light to that, because that is what most people don't realize, that they are wealthy if they own a home and they meet the threshold in order to prevent the courts from making decisions and taking assets from your children. You need to have a living trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And Oscar, you say by creating an active and reliable estate planning strategy and plan, my friend, it brings people a state of a peace of mind, right? That all of their end of life affairs are taken care of, my friend. So when we start the estate planning process, I'm wondering if you could drill down more specifically on the specific roadmaps or steps that people say they're close to retirement or in midlife. What do you think they should be, or what questions should they be asking themselves as they begin the estate planning process? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, the simple fact is, one is qualified. So I have some gifts that I like to give you guys to help you with the estate planning process. There's the first gift that we want to give you is a downloadable comprehensive living trust guide. Okay. And that comprehensive living trust guide is going to help you get all the questions together to be able to eliminate any of that process. So the first gift is the estate.prep.com/guide. Estate.prep/guide is the you can download the estate guide. It's free of charge. It's comprehensive. So there's a lot of questions in there that if you fill it out, I'm here to tell you, it is not a living trust. If you can fill it out, that doesn't mean you have a living trust. That just means that you have the process and you know the questions, but you need to take the next step. And the next step is you could call 805 909 4689. 909 805 909 4689. And that's an artificial intelligence incoming call phone number. And you could ask any questions about estate planning to the AI, artificial intelligence. She would try to answer it to the best of her ability. She'll say, "Hey," she'll even say, "Hey, I'm not 100%. That needs to be confirmed. Would you like to talk to a human?" And that would come to me or one of the estate planning coordinators to be able to get into that and scale to that availability to be able to do that. But that's the actual steps that I recommend. And the first thing is, one, do you need it? Right? And if you're a homeowner, you have to have it, or your kids are going to go to probate because you'll be dead. You won't be around to be able to go through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Oscar, you also have created a platform on your website that makes this easier. So I'm going to ask you about the platform that you've created, but also how do you think technology has made estate planning more simplified, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Okay, well here's the thing. That's another great. Well, you did your homework today, Kevin. And you got great questions. So here's the thing that you have to understand. An estate plan. There's three ways on how you can get an estate plan. The first way is the gold standard, which is hire an attorney, and they'll do it for you. And that means that you have to pay anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000 to have a comprehensive estate plan customized for you. One. Two, the second way is that you go online and that costs you from four to eight, $10,000. An attorney charges for what's called restatements, updates. For every update that you get, it's anywhere from 1,200 to 1,800. Last night's workshop, live in-person workshop that we had, we ended up having those people in the workshop, and we ended up getting them in the sense of the estate planning. And somebody said that an attorney that they paid $8,000 for to do a restatement or an update cost $4,000. Now I'm going to tell you, our software is a fraction of that. Now the second portion on how you can get an estate planning and what makes us different, I'll go cover that on the third topic. But the second topic is that you use a software company and you do it yourself. Do it yourself. And if you do it yourself, you'll have a 95% chance of not completing it. And the reason why is because there's so many unanswered questions. And what do I do here? What about this? And where do I put this? And where do I put that? And a lot of software companies either have a chat or somebody from the third world that either does it on a third world country doing chat support. Now, when you do business, and then if you don't get any free updates, you don't get funding letters, you don't get all of that. Now, when you do business with us, you get unlimited funding letters, you get unlimited restatements. Every year, there's a $129 charge only for the year that you have not done or that you need to do your update. That's it, $129. That's all it costs because you're using a software. Now, we have the middle standard. It's not the top standard, but we have it where you get it done with you. Now we do it with you. We work with you. We educate you by telling you stories on how other people that we've worked with has created living trust in the past and what they do to be able to accomplish that. Now we jump on 3 Zoom calls. We go live. We walk you through the software, show you where everything is. On every single body that signs up to use our software, we schedule a call and we walk you through the entire process. You are never, ever, ever alone. 1, 2. We give you unlimited updates. That means for the rest of your life, you get unlimited updates when you work with the state doc prep. Unlike an attorney and unlike other software companies, we give you unlimited updates, which is unlimited, which is in itself, if you do 2 updates in your life, it'll pay for itself and and save you some money in your lifetime. The third thing is that we do it with you. In other words, we jump on a Zoom, we show you where everything's at in the software, and more importantly, we share with you where all the provisions that you can provide so you can customize your estate plan to be able to do it at the highest possible level. So doing business with us is makes it we make it so simple that we're gonna give we are probably the only software company that gives out a payment plan and being able to give that so you can have a massive amount of business, a massive amount of security and support to be able to create a comprehensive living trust.
Yeah, all of that is very important, and thank you for sharing that. And Oscar, I wanted to get your thoughts on a study published back in 2023 from caring.com, which indicated that there have been a lower amount of people engaging in estate planning. The study found that that overall there's been a 6% decline in estate planning, with a significant 16% decline among lower income Americans. And they also found that adults 18 to 34 were the only group not showing a decrease in estate planning rates, my friend. So I'm wondering, again, how we get more people invested in this process, and what are your thoughts on those numbers, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, here that's a great statistic, and I got to tell you, I think it all goes down to the basics of awareness. I don't think that people. I think that there's less people because listen, attorneys are in it for a simple. They're in it for a show or to get the paid. I mean, I think there's some attorneys out there that do that, but I don't think that there's enough awareness. I don't think there's enough people talking about it. I don't think that there is people don't get an estate plan because they don't know an estate plan is for everybody that has a home. They don't realize that they have probate, right? And that they don't realize, and I always tell people this, listen, if you're listening today, I could tell you this, that ask your friends and family. Ask your friends and family about if they know anybody that's gone to probate and what they went through. I mean, this is something that you have to take into action and you have to do it. And so if you're listening to this podcast, now you know what's going to happen to your things. Now, a comprehensive living trust has 19 different documents that can be included. We don't have time to go into that, but there is a lot that goes in. Now, not all living trusts are created equal. What I mean, some are basic, some just protect your home, some just do that. But what you want is you want the option, if you're going to pay a fraction of the cost, but you can get all of the benefits of a $10,000 estate plan for a fraction of the cost, then why not do it? Right? But now that you know what's going to happen to you, or not to you, to your kids when you pass and your assets, then now that you know that, now you could take action for that.
Yeah, and Oscar, tell me, what do you think is the ideal age to begin estate planning? What are your thoughts there?
Well, it's a great question. I think the ideal age is here's one thing you know for sure. And I always ask people another great question, but if you knew for sure 100% that taxes are going to be more in the future, right? Because taxes, I think, are going to be more. They're more now than they were in the past. If taxes was going to be higher, would you? Okay, one. Two, if creating an estate plan is going to go up in price or down in price, it's only going to go up because everything goes up. Nothing comes down when it comes to services or products or services. Nothing comes down. So, and guess what's going to happen? Court and probate cost is also going to go up. So, by you going into probate, that means the sooner that you get it, the sooner you prevent it. And then at the very least, you can buy. I'll give you an example. Great example is 10 years ago, an estate plan done by an attorney that now costs $6,000 used to cost $600. Now it's $6,000. And that is a simple fact of the cost of inflation. So the best time to get an estate plan is one, when you are a homeowner or you have a special needs child. That time, that day. Because here's the thing, I always tell people, yesterday is too late, tomorrow's not promised, today is the only day that we have for sure, right? Mm-hmm. So, the age is when you're ready, and you're ready to be able to protect your family, and you want to start that plan to protect your family and be able to make the final decisions on what happens to your things.
Yeah, and Oscar, Forbes, last year they released a study that said 85% of small and medium-sized business owners, my friend, have outdated estate plans, which, of course, as you mentioned, can lead to unforeseen or unprecedented consequences due to changes in estate law, my friend. So tell me about your thoughts on those findings and what business owners need to know about estate planning, my friend.
That is probably a left out comment on a lot of my podcasts, because you know what, the people that also need estate planning and have to have it, should have it, is business owners. If you own a business, I think you have to have it. And they have an outdated estate plan. What they mean by outdated is that your standard operating procedures or your processes should be put into your estate plan, so that way they have those provisions in there to be able to follow, and they'll have those processes. One, two, you want to be able to have in your estate plan on what's going to happen to your business and how does your business operate, so your business continue to operate while you're gone. And that's the beauty about business when you leave that. Now, many businesses that have an outdated plan, their business goes out of business when they die because they did not have a business plan or an estate plan to be able to protect the business. So providing that with that statistic, that's that's something that, and I don't talk a lot about it because most of the people that have to have it are that, but it should be a topic that we should have with everybody about that is a business owner, because it's an asset, right? That is an asset. That's something you can't take with you. And that's definitely something that we should shed more light on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Oscar, just out of curiosity, my friend, just talking to you, buddy, I know and I can see that you have a passion for life. So where does your ambition to live a full and meaningful life come from, my friend? Because it seems like you've got a lot of energy and passion. So tell me about your appreciation for life, my friend, and where does that come from?
Yeah, you know what? I've always been a dreamer, and I've always wanted to provide the best possible life for my family, and that's what motivates me. Being able to do things that most people only dream of. I mean, we've always worked hard, and I think what drives me the most is to be able to provide for my family, but provide for my family at the highest possible level. And I'm passionate because I don't put my foot in the water. I jump in, right, in the pool. I don't go in one step at a time. I stay at the edge and I jump in and I'm all in. I don't do anything halfway. So I'm very passionate about everything that I do. But I believe in this. I believe to be able to provide more than provide more than you receive, and be able to give more to more people than you receive, and you always have an abundance of kindness and the right people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Oscar, outside of estate planning, buddy, what brings you passion and purpose? What do you like to do outside of work, buddy?
You know, one of my hobbies is being able to study and understand businesses. I love understanding businesses. I love learning about businesses, and I like learning about processes. That's one of my hobbies. But you know what? As you could tell, I love good food. I mean, I'm a foodie. I mean, I love going out to great restaurants. I love to travel. It's one of the things that my wife and I we have a great passion for. So we like to travel and see and experience new things. But that's what gives us the greatest pleasure.
Absolutely. So, what's your favorite food to eat, or what's some foods that you haven't tried that you want to try, buddy?
You know, I don't know. I love all types of food, but I think some of my favorite is the foods that my wife cooks for us at home. And some of our home cooked meals, I think, are I think some of the best gourmet because they're cooked from scratch. But I think you know what I like all types of foods. I haven't tried anything too exotic. I don't like sushi, so that's too slippery for me. I don't eat much of very very exotic, but I like meats and veggies and soups, and I love our Mexican cuisine is probably some of my favorites because I like the salsas.
Oh, fair enough, my friend. Well, next time I have to plan a party. I know who to call if I need to up the energy of the party. Okay.
Hey, well, thank you so much for having me, Kevin, and I appreciate you. Thank you for allowing me to use your platform to bring awareness to estate planning, as Americans need to know this information. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Just before I say goodbye to you, but I've got two more questions for you. And
Okay, go ahead.
the first I wanted to ask you about, buddy, if people win the lottery or they get an inheritance from someone who passes away before they do, buddy, how does that change their estate planning process? I'm curious, buddy. What are your thoughts there?
Well, here's the thing. The first thing is that estate planning is one of many things that we do. I'm still in the real estate business, but one of the things that we do is we have what's called safe money retirement accounts. And how that changes estate planning, now you can use that money to create generational wealth for generations to come. Because there's how many times have you seen people that win the lottery and end up with no money? How many
Mm-hmm.
times do you see that? Now, what we've seen is by putting that and changes that in your estate plan. Now you can put layers in on distributions, put it into safe money accounts, be able to put it in so you can create generational wealth. And you could do generational wealth by putting in $200-300 a month. I mean, if you help a child put in $100 a month for the first 10 years and never put money back, never put money in, you're going to make that child will retire with over $1 million in the bank for their retirement by just giving $100 a month for the first 8 or 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And my final question for you has to do with life and legacy, my friend. I know you mentioned your family earlier, and that's a big part of the legacy you want to leave. But if I throw you a lifetime achievement party, my friend, and I asked your friends or your closest family members to give a toast about you, buddy, what do you think they would say, and what would you want them to say about your life and your legacy, buddy?
Well, you know what? I think they're gonna. I think a lot of people would say two things. One, he was dedicated, honest, and always gave more than he took. I think a lot of people would say that because I get a lot of commendations on how much and what I do more for people than what we do. I mean, we do a lot of different services. We do a lot of consulting. We don't charge for a lot of our current clients on how to restructure their businesses, their financial plan, and all of that. I think one of the things that I would want people to say is that, you know what, I would hope they would say that, is that you know, I was a good person to many people in society.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, my friend, tell me if people want to get connected with estate.prep or your self personally, what's the best way they can do that?
Well, I think the best way they can do that is 805-909-4689. I'll send you the phone number. You can write it down, put it on the show notes, and that's an artificial intelligence 24 hours a day. She'll ask any questions, and then at the end of that, she'll ask you if you have any more questions, and you say no. That would be it. What she'll do is she'll ask you if you want to book an appointment to talk to a human, or she'll try to do a live transfer. And once that happens, we'll be able to connect, or you can go to estate.prep.com and get all the information on there that you feel necessary.
Well, Oscar, you're doing a tremendous service for the future and security of all Americans, making sure that they protect their assets and their languages, my friend. It was a privilege to engage in conversation with you today, Bonnie, and I want to thank you for being here. It's most appreciated.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing the podcast. And once again, I want to just say thank you for helping me bring awareness to a statewide or a worldwide problem that we have, nationwide problem that we have.